My kids didn't know what Christmas was, and it destroyed me. I'm a pediatric nurse, and I thought I'd seen everything until I met Mia and Carlos. Their grandmother brought them to our ER on a December night, both kids burning with fever and covered in infected welts. What she told me next made my blood run cold. "They've been living in that cult compound for 4 years, she whispered, glancing around nervously. "My daughter got brainwashed by some prophet who said Christmas was the devil's birthday. These babies have never celebrated anything." The cult leader had convinced 30 families that joy itself was sinful. No birthdays, no holidays, no celebrations of any kind. Children who smiled too much got locked in prayer closets. Laughter meant you were possessed by evil spirits. And Christmas? That was when the darkness worked hardest to corrupt innocent souls. When Child Services finally raided the compound, they found kids who flinched at the sound of music, who'd been taught that colorful clothes were evil, who believed that wanting things was a sin that would send them to hell. Mia and Carlos were among the lucky ones. They had a grandmother willing to fight for custody, but the damage was done. These kids had spent their entire childhoods in gray clothes, eating flavorless food, forbidden from playing or dreaming or wanting anything beyond daily survival. They'd been taught that their natural childhood desires were literally demonic. The grandmother was doing her best, but she was overwhelmed. When she found out I was a single mom looking to adopt, she begged me to consider them. "They need someone who understands trauma," she said. "Someone who won't give up when they can't trust love." I brought them home in November, thinking I had time to ease them into normal life. They were so quiet, so careful, always asking permission to eat, to speak, to exist. Mia would apologize for breathing too loudly. Carlos hadn't played with a single toy in 4 years. He'd forgotten how. Then December arrived, and I started putting up lights. The moment they saw the Christmas tree, both kids hit the floor, covering their heads and chanting some prayer about resisting the darkness's temptation. They were shaking, convinced our house was about to be struck by lightning for inviting evil inside. That's when I realized they literally had no idea what Christmas actually was. They'd been taught it was a holiday where bad people worshipped darkness by being happy. They thought Santa was an evil spirit who punished good children by making them want things. They believed that presents were tools the darkness used to corrupt souls. I spent weeks gently explaining that Christmas was about love, family, and celebrating the birth of Jesus, not Satan. I showed them movies, read them stories, tried to help them understand that joy wasn't sinful. But every time they started to smile, they'd catch themselves and whisper prayers for forgiveness. On Christmas Eve, I went all out. I wanted them to experience one perfect morning of pure childhood magic. I set up the most beautiful scene I could imagine. Presents, cookies, milk for Santa, the works. I even recorded myself eating the cookies and drinking the milk, then played it back so they could see Santa had really come. Christmas morning, I woke to Carlos shaking my shoulder, tears streaming down his face. "Miss Sarah," he whispered, "the good man came to our house. Are we allowed to be happy now?" Then Mia appeared beside him, clutching a wrapped present like it was made of gold. "Is this really for me?" she asked. "Am I allowed to want it?" I couldn't speak. I just nodded and watched as they opened their first presents ever, asking permission before touching each toy, apologizing for feeling excited, checking my face constantly to make sure their joy wasn't making me angry. But then something beautiful happened. Carlos picked up a toy car and, for the first time in months, he smiled without apologizing. Mia hugged a stuffed animal and giggled, actually giggled, without covering her mouth in shame. They spent the whole day learning that happiness wasn't a sin, that wanting things was normal, that they were allowed to feel joy without punishment. And when Carlos looked at me that evening and said, "I think Jesus likes Christmas too," I knew we'd won. The cult stole 4 years of their childhood, but we got Christmas back. And sometimes, that's enough to start healing a whole life.